This presentation on global challenges, attacks on the credibility of audits comes to us from Sheronda Jeffries. Sheronda is an industry leader participating with the TIA Business Performance Community, BPC, an industry collaboration of companies dedicated to ICT supply chain quality and performance. As TIA's strategic relationships leader, she represents the ICT industry at global collaboration organizations, including the US TAG to ISO TC 176, ISO Casco Star, and the IAF, where she serves as a director representing users and industry. Sheronda co-leads the IGQ working group and is a former member representative and multi-year recipient of the COO CEO Award. In addition, she is a certified quality auditor, a senior member of ASQ, a chartered member of ASQ's Quality Audit Division, and an ASQ fellow. And with that, take it away, Sheronda.
Thanks, Mike. So hello, everyone. As you've heard, my name is Sheronda Jeffries. I am the IAF, that's the International Accreditation Forum. Phew, lots of acronyms. Director representing user and industry. I'm also the IAF User Advisory Committee, or UAC Chair, and their liaison to ISO TC, or Technical Committee 176. Now, ISO TC 176, they're the authors and the updaters of ISO 9001, which is the most popular quality management system standard in the world. Everywhere we look, fake news, fake news, fake news. Lots of challenges that potentially impact the credibility of our audits. So what do we do to combat these challenges? Well, we've got to recognize, how do these challenges impact our auditors? We see changing workforce demographics, age, gender. Hey, quite frankly, folks, auditors, they're not getting any younger. Ethnicity, race. Disruption is everywhere. We see change happening at a rapid pace. Even in my industry, the information and communication technologies industry, or ICT industry, cell phones have replaced many items in our lives. I mean, come on, folks. When was the last time you thought about an alarm clock? Nowadays, your cell phone serves as your alarm clock. And with all this change, we see decreased confidence. Fake news. How do we know whom to trust? How do we know what's real? All of these impact the credibility of audits. For example, those changing workforce demographics, age, gender, ethnicity, and race. Well, that's leading to differences in styles. Some of us, we still probably remember the days when we talked about work instructions, and those were things that were written down on sheets of paper. Nowadays, many organizations, they're communicating through video. YouTube is a communication platform with regard to how to execute instructions. Disruption, as we've said, is everywhere. Makes it hard for our auditors to keep up with the changes that they're seeing. Desktop sharing is very commonplace when it comes to audits nowadays. And again, this fake news, fake news, fake news. We don't know what to trust. We don't know it's real. We're unable to trust the data, the tools. And quite frankly, if I can't have confidence in the people, the tools, or the data, that's making us wonder, what makes the results legitimate? What makes the results real? Scandals are everywhere. Kobe Steele admitted that data fraud went on for nearly 5 decades. 5 decades, people. And even at NASA, we see that fraud related to millions of dollars. Who knows what the next scandal is going to be? Who knows? So what's it going to take to improve the credibility of audits? Well, here's what it's going to take. It's going to take data that we can trust. Increased use of blockchain. Now, I chuckle, folks, because I work in the ICT industry, and one of our big jokes at information and communication technology organizations is, can you get through a meeting without saying blockchain's going to save the world? We're seeing an increased use of blockchain. We're seeing ways to address cyber attack, intellectual theft, data misuse, corruption. We're seeing controls to address those things. Nowadays, folks are implementing security audits, not just quality management system audits. With regard to those security audits, we're seeing increased auditor confidence. People have to have knowledge, familiarity with regard to the tools and the techniques. Those communication styles that are changing, we've got to be able to communicate across platforms. We've got to recognize increased social media is having an impact. Bite-sized training is becoming the way of the world. Hey, that's exactly what Exemplar Global's doing. And we need tools that give us confidence, tools that we can trust, tools like the IAF search database. We'll talk more about that. We also need leadership, re-engaged and committed, not only with regard to audits, but also with regard to quality. So how do we re-engage leadership? We speak their language. Their language is money. Their language is increased efficiency, increased confidence, reduce costs. Introducing the IAF search tool. This tool serves as a global single source of truth. This tool is aimed at reducing counterfeit. Many of us, with regard to our industry organizations, for example, in the ICT or Information and Communication Technologies world, we have a database. A database allows us to verify, to check the validity of certifications in our industry. What's interesting is there's never been a global single source of truth to verify accredited certification with regard to the multilateral recognition agreement. That's what IAF Search is going to give us, a single source of truth. The IAF Search tool was built on principles. There are 14 principles. Those 14 principles, we're not going to cover them all now. We're going to highlight those that relate to confidence and trust. Let's talk first about principle number 12. Principle number 12 is about data that's going to be used to verify the validity of accredited certification. Now, this is outlined in ISO 17021-1. That standard communicates to certification bodies. This is exactly what you need in order to verify accredited certification. It talks about the scope of the certificate, the geographical location. It talks about exactly what you need to say, yes, that certificate is valid. Now, in addition to principle number 12, we're also going to talk about principle number 14. Principle 14 talks about data security. No data is going to be sold. And because we're talking about verifying the validity, checking the validity of accredited certification, we want to see the active status as it relates to these certificates. Again, confidence in the data. And because we're talking confidence in the data, IAF Search complies with GDPR, a global data protection regulations. It complies with GDPR. IAF Search is intended to reduce counterfeit. It's going to increase accuracy, efficiency. Again, we're speaking the language of leadership, folks. It's going to increase the credibility of accredited certification, and it's going to provide market opportunity for certified companies. And yes, it speaks the language of leadership. Because we're saving time and improving efficiency, it's going to reduce costs. IAF Search is something that government, users, and industry all support. It's the tool for the future. Now, talking about the future, ISO TC 176, remember, responsible for developing and updating ISO 9001, the most recognized quality management system standard in the world. They are proactively defending the credibility of their standards through the ISO 9001 Brand Integrity Task Group. Now, that task group is intended to ensure the ongoing credibility of ISO 9001 and other TC 176 standards, like ISO 9000, the vocabulary standard that goes along with ISO 9001. It's intended to ensure the ongoing credibility of ISO 9001, especially if you're going to use ISO 9001 as the basis for conformity assessment or certification. Now, likewise, the IAF, they've got a task force. Their task force, they've got a task force on fraudulent activities. And that task force was specifically created to address the following problem statement. It's specifically intended to address unethical, fraudulent, and or criminal activities by certified organizations around the world that can lead to doubts about the brand integrity, once again, brand integrity of the management system standards involved. Now, again, we're focused primarily on ISO 9001, but there may be other standards, standards that rely on ISO 9001 as a base. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to increase confidence, folks. That means we need to reduce unethical, fraudulent, and or criminal activities. So what do we need to do to improve the credibility of audits? Well, we need data. Again, data that we can trust, data that we can have confidence in. We need to have those controls to address cyber attacks, intellectual theft, data misuse, data corruption. We need to have controls in place to address those. We need to re-engage leadership. We need to speak the language that they speak. Improve efficiency, reduce costs. We need to enhance our ability to communicate, recognizing that communication is different. YouTube, bite-sized training. We need tools that we can trust. We need smarter, better auditors. Our auditors need to understand not only these tools, not only the concepts that support and lend credibility to these tools like blockchain, intellectual theft practices with regard to anti-theft. We need you. We need you to stand guard. We cannot ignore the threats affecting the credibility of audits. Fake news is everywhere. We all need to work together to make sure audits are credible. Thank you for your time.
And thank you, Sheronda Jeffries, for that expert analysis of the global challenges to the credibility of audits. That concludes this presentation.